In this video, I'm going to break down exactly what you need to do to lose 25 pounds, even if you've been struggling with this for over a decade. The truth is, the fitness industry's been lying to you. They leverage your insecurities to sell you quick fixes, detox teas, fad diets that only ruin your relationship with food and reinforce the belief that there's something wrong with you. 45 million Americans go on a diet each and every single year, spending $33 billion on weight loss products. And despite these efforts, 41.9% of the US population is still obese. And while doctors can acknowledge that this is a problem, 72% of them surveyed have no idea how to help you solve your weight loss issues. And if you're anything like the women that I've had the pleasure of working with, you likely want to feel confident as fuck. So if you want to know what it would take for you to finally lose the weight and get out of this rat race, I'm going to break down my 5-step system so that you can lose the weight not just for now, but forever. Many people skip the most important step, and that is what we call the brief. This is where we need to look at where you are and where you want to go. While you might have a vision, if we don't have realistic expectations, you are never going to actually get to the result. The first thing that we're going to run is a SWOT analysis. This stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Your strengths might be that you don't struggle with repeating the same meals throughout the week. We can run a rinse and repeat meal structure so that breakfast and lunch and snack are consistent throughout your work week. This is a really important thing that you can leverage as far as getting yourself started. When it comes to weaknesses, maybe you struggle to set boundaries and say no to people. We can build a skill around setting new boundaries so that you can be consistent and also stop feeling guilt and shame because you acted outside of your goals along the way. Opportunities that you might have, maybe you work at a facility where there's actually a gym inside and accessible to you. We can leverage these opportunities for you to make it a lot easier for you to be consistent with incorporating these patterns within your day-to-day structure. Now, potential threats, and this is where your blind spots are going to live. Maybe you have a spouse that's really not that supportive or thinks that you should be smart enough to just figure it out. Maybe you have emotional eating tendencies and we don't have a lot of emotional awareness skills. These things will impact your weight loss journey if you always eat when you're feeling uncomfortable. Other things that we want to look at as we're moving you through the brief is, what are your time constraints? What are your resource availabilities? What is your training history? What is your dieting history? And what are your actual blind spots? We have to have awareness over these skills because these are going to be the resistance that you feel in pursuing and achieving your weight loss goals. I have to be honest with you. The difficulty in losing weight has nothing to do with knowing what to do. Most people know they need to eat more protein, they need to track their calories, they need to exercise. It's not knowledge, it's bridging the gap between intention and action. And so we have to focus on the psychology around why you behave the way that you do and start to break some of those beliefs and change some of those perspectives so that we can get you moving in the right direction. Once we've gotten through the brief, we're going to go through fat loss systems. The truth of the matter is, you can do anything, but you cannot do everything all at once. Stop trying and expecting yourself to be perfect. You're not a superhuman, so we need to pull the largest lever for you that's going to move mountains and actually getting the needle to move forward. On a surface level, this is going to look like protein, calories, and fiber, but this is likely not news to you. We need to look at what is the easiest thing for you personally to do. Is tracking calories overwhelming to you? If it is, we can look at engaging with really important and easily accessible food principles. The what. When people talk about weight loss, they tend to hyperfixate on trackers and calories without looking at the underlying behavior regarding their interactions with food. Do you have protein? Can we focus on starting your meals with what you need and then adding on top of that what you like? If we can get into a certain pattern or principles of approaches, you don't necessarily even have to track food to lose weight, though it is an accurate way to keep yourself in check. We also have to look at what skills do we need to develop. Many people will try to go from basic math to quantum physics, and you cannot skip steps. The hardest thing in the honest reality is many people will overestimate their current capabilities when it comes to pursuing goals. If you don't know how to navigate planning meals, setting up systems, do you have a weekly schedule? If you are not good with systems, you are going to struggle because flying by the seat of your pants is not going to magically make it happen for you. And so we need to backtrack and be honest. Where are you at? What knowledge do you have? What skills do you have? What blind spots do you have? Maybe this is communication with your partner. A lot of people will avoid talking about the fact that they're actually going to try to lose weight. And because we don't talk about these things and set the expectations, then we worry about what people perceive us to be doing because we're not eating like we did. We're not going out and binge drinking because we didn't open up the door to just communicate about our goals and where we're at and what we actually want. If you can build the skill of being transparent in your desires and your communication, it's going to make your fitness journey a lot easier. But when it comes to building, we have to incorporate systems. If you're not training at all, you can leverage literally just going for walks every single day. You can start to focus on movement. You can do the highest leverage thing for you. It might not be going from 0 to 5 days a week of training. So let's backtrack that and aim for once a week, twice a week. You are going to see results by being consistent with the process that you build. If you want to increase activity, you can look at using a step tracker to look at where is my current baseline of steps. Can I increase that by 300 to 500 a day for a week? Again, consistency wins no matter what. When it comes to protein, aim to hit 1 gram per pound of ideal body weight, or just look to hit 100 grams. Most people aren't eating that much, and if you can start to slowly build that over time, you will be able to incorporate a habit of building your meals with protein to hit your ideal protein targets intuitively. Now that we've gone through the fat loss foundations, we're going to get into some specificity principles. This is where a lot of people will get stuck. They want to build muscle and lose fat, and it's really hard for us to objectively see and achieve an outcome if we're trying to do all of these different things. This doesn't mean you have to box yourself in permanently, but we do have to have a clear and specific goal. And so if we want to go through fat loss, then we need to make sure our biggest motivator is you consistently being in a calorie deficit. But in order for us to lose fat and not lose lean body mass, because I'm assuming you don't want to be skinny fat, then we need to make sure that we're doing the things that will allow us to do that. Adequate amounts of protein, resistance training, and eating in a calorie deficit. Those are the requirements for losing body fat specifically. Again, strength training can be 2 to 3 days a week. Once we get into specificity, which means we've been consistent with the foundations, then we can start to crank up the volume. If you're doing twice a week, I want you to go to 3 days a week. I don't care if these are 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, 60-minute workouts. It does not matter, because when it comes to training, people think that time is the most important thing, but it's not. It's intensity and it's effort. Intensity can be controlled by a few different variables. This could be time under tension. This could be load, so how much weight you are lifting, and making sure that we're going through the entire range of motion to activate the actual muscle group that we are targeting through the movement that we're incorporating. We also want to look at, depending on what modes you want to use, I work with a lot of endurance athletes as well. When we're looking at energy systems, people will say that carbs and fats don't matter. For a lifestyle person, maybe not. But if you are somebody who has a specific performance goal, we're probably going to want to optimize a moderate carbohydrate intake and a lower fat intake. If we're talking percentages, no less than 20% of your calories should be coming from dietary fat, because they are important for hormone production, which is going to impact you later on down the road. So making sure that we're getting adequate amounts of fat, moderate amounts of carbohydrates, and adequate amounts of protein, that's going to be the secret sauce for your body composition results overall. Now, an important note here, as we crank up the volume, that means the level of difficulty also increases. So your mindset has to be in the right place. Your mind is going to quit a million times before your body ever does. And the hardest thing for most people is being able to move through the hard. Because if we're going to be honest with each other for just a second, it's really easy to do this shit when life is going really well. But it's not about showing up when things are easy. It's about how you show up when things are really fucking hard. This is a lot about you, your values, your character, and what this goal actually means to you. This also doesn't mean that you have to do things perfectly. I'm talking to the perfectionistic women out there, okay? You have to know that if you only have 20% to give that day and you give 20%, that is a win. So now that we've gone through the specificity phase, we've gotten down to about 25 pounds down, ideally, if you're watching this video. This is where people fuck it up, and I really need you to hear me. We have to have an exit strategy. Most people, because they aren't focused on skill development and habits, will go back to their previous habits and gain the weight back. And in this phase, we're talking about metabolism, hormones, and overall behavioral modification. We have to talk about metabolism because this is where a lot of people will hyperfixate on calories. The honest question that I'm going to ask you is, do you care more about being able to eat 3,000 calories, or do you care more about eating in a way that makes your body feel good, that fuels your body, allows you to sleep, allows you to perform, and that maintains your achieved new body weight? Because when we lose body fat, every single cell that we have requires energy. When you lose weight, as a consequence to that, your metabolism will drop. It is metabolic adaptation. Doesn't mean you're broken. It is a normal side effect of losing more cells because they're not as metabolically active. We do need to look at coming out of the deficit. And the way that we want to do this, we're going to add in more intensity, maybe some more volume within your training program, so that we're putting that to good work and we are triggering muscle protein synthesis to stimulate further muscle growth instead of just adding more body fat over time. The other thing that we have to look at is diet quality. As we increase calories, remember that when you restrict calories, you're also removing vitamins, minerals, and micronutrients as a consequence or side effect of just eating less food overall. And so when we start to increase calories, we also want to pay attention to the types of foods that we are now adding into the diet. Meaning, just because we're increasing calories doesn't mean I want you eating gelato every Friday, okay? We need to be able to look at, are we getting more fruit? Are we getting more vegetables? Are we fueling our bodies with vitamins, minerals, and micronutrients? Especially if you're somebody who's worried about hormones or you're in that menopausal phase of your life. Vitamins, minerals, micronutrients, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, that will determine how you feel. Again, there is a time for fun foods. I don't demonize any food. It can all fit. But the habit that many of you have to break is the amount that you have and the frequency in which you have it. That's a behavior change. And that moves me perfectly right into behavior modification. The behavior that we have to focus on building is all of the habits, the quality of the food that we choose, the amount that we move our body, how we feel about training, how consistently we are training, what are we doing now within our lifestyle that we've had to do in order to get from A to B. We want to solidify these behaviors as the what. What I really want to reinforce here is the how can change. Meaning that if you are somebody who got into this and you really loved strength training at the beginning, once you come out of a deficit, if you decide you want to go into endurance, or if you want to do a triathlon, or if you want to do CrossFit, it doesn't matter what you do. The how can change, right? I want you to be active. I want you to move your body. What many of you might notice, especially if you are somebody who's eaten a lot of processed foods over time in your life, is that your energy is better, your cognitive performance is better, your libido is probably better, your ability to manage stress is also enhanced. These are the bigger side effects of weight loss or improving your overall health that people miss because they focus on the vanity aspect of what they're trying to achieve. And there's nothing wrong, by the way, with wanting to look banging in a bikini this summer. I'm in full support of you doing that. But there are many other side effects of you focusing on incorporating these values and behaving in this way that will carry you forward past the days in which we're focused on the way that we look and much more in our adult age or in our elderly years, of your ability to squat down and pick shit up without throwing out your back. It's really important, and I have to add this disclaimer, do not rush this process. I would recommend that you stay in an exit strategy for at least 6 to 8 weeks to really make sure that you've nailed down these things before we get into the last step, which is freedom. I'm assuming you probably wouldn't want to be somebody who had to use crutches your entire life just so that you could walk. So we have to remove the training wheel so that you learn to do this on your own. A lot of people get into spaces with family vacations, anniversaries, holidays, and birthday parties where they obsess over what they can and can't eat because they can't track it perfectly. But by this time, throughout this journey, we should have learned the skills, we should have gotten the education around nutrition, and we should have the behaviors and stress management communication tools in place to be able to navigate these things easily. When we pull people through this phase of our coaching, we're looking at, can you engage with the habits and the behaviors? How do you feel without these tools in place? That doesn't mean never use them again. If you're somebody who wants to check in every now and again, go for it. But you don't have to rely on these things to tell you what you can eat, how much you can eat, when to eat. It's just asinine. We focus on flexibility being a requirement. How do you handle a graduation party? What are we doing with work events or travel? Can we manage those things and also not take it too far? And the last thing, and the most important thing, is really solidifying that you've learned something throughout this process, right? Because it's really easy to do an acute, really aggressive diet just to see the scale go down. However, if we actually want to change for the long haul, not just for now, but forever, then we have to have the same environment with a new behavior. That is learning. And that is why I personally focus on psychology and behavior change, not surface level fad diet bullshit. Now, if you found this video helpful, or if you'd like to reach out to my team and see if we can help you, then click the link below and fill out an application. If not, watch another video. I'll talk to you soon.